guys, Comic Boom here to review Justice League issue 9. I have been, guys, a little hard on Scott Snyder's Justice League in the first 8 issues, or the first, I guess, probably 6 anyway. But I gotta say, I enjoyed issue 9. This was kind of a nice break. This is an issue that I recommend you pick up wholeheartedly. We get to see the inside of the Hall of Justice. We get to see the outside of the Hall of Justice, which, well, kind of know what it looks like. But we've got some beautiful art here. Beautiful art by Jorge, I always say his name wrong, Jorge Jimenez. Jorge Jimenez, artist, does a great job here. The opening, most of the entire scenes take place in the Hall of Justice, and we get to see all the various private quarters of all the members of the Justice League: the Flash, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. My God, it's really good. Scott Snyder did a good job this issue, going back and forth, going back between the various members of the Justice League and getting their thoughts and perspectives of what exactly has happened so far. Because a lot's happened in the previous 8 issues, and with taking on the totality, they've been attacked by the Legion of Doom. There's 7 deadly forces that have been released once now that the Source Wall's been broken. We only know about 2 of them, the Still Force and the Ultraviolet Core. We got Green Lantern, John Stewart with a mysterious ring of the Ultraviolet Core. We got the Flash that's sort of trying to understand the Still Force, as we readers are also trying to understand those 2 forces. Meanwhile, we don't know what the other 5 forces are, but we suspect 2 of them are probably have to do with divinity and magic, because we're getting hints of that in Justice League Dark, which Wonder Woman's dealing with over in the pages of that series. And that new series, of course, there's another series called Witching Hour, which I've reviewed and which is quite good, and which takes us, and by the way, collect that weekly series Witching Hour into Halloween throughout the entire month here of October. It's been a really good time to be a Justice League fan. There's lots of stuff out there. Now, the high points of this particular issue, there's actually a theme in this issue, and the theme in this issue that's really good, that Snyder does a good job on, is basically is the theme of sticking to your guns. You know, stick to your principles and don't change. If you've got good principles and you've got conviction, don't let fear change who you really are. And probably the most pivotal scene here is when Superman is literally trying, and it's on the cover here, Superman is literally trying to repair the moon, because if you recall, I don't need to go into details again, but suffice to say, the moon was half-assed destroyed in the previous 8 issues. And Superman's basically repairing the moon, but there's these parasites called the coronavores, which are coming toward him, which have been attracted to him, some are from out of space, and Batman's warning him, say, Superman, you've got to stop doing this, you've got to come back, you've got to change the way you're doing things, stop trying to repair the moon, basically, you gotta come back, let us help you, let me come up there, even though I'm in a cast, because remember, Batman's legs were all snapped, every bone in Batman's body was broke, and he's in kind of like a glorified bat cast. And Batman's saying, look, you need our help. But it's really just Batman's way of trying to get Superman to think tactically differently, to get Superman to change the way he's thinking. But Superman will have none of it. And Superman knows what Batman's up to. And Superman refuses to stop fixing the moon, because fixing things, helping people, being a good person, doing what needs to be done, even in the face of great danger, even at the potential loss of your life, you still got to do it. So Superman sticks to his gun, and he saves and he fixes the moon, and he knows that it was all a ruse by Batman to try to get Superman, to trip Superman up, to change what he's doing, to change tactics, to learn new tactics. That's really what it's about. But Superman refuses to. Now, if you're wondering why Scott Snyder would take an angle like that, it's because in earlier issues, you remember that the way that they defeated the Legion of Doom with the Still Force and the Ultraviolet Core is that, for example, the Flash embraced the Still Force. The Flash didn't defeat the Still Force by embracing the Speed Force. He actually sort of embraced the Still Force. John Stewart embraced being an Ultraviolet Core a member of the Ultraviolet Corps in order to defeat it. In many ways, they almost became their enemy. They became the enemy in order to defeat the enemy in the early pages of Justice League. I'm saying that in thematic, philosophical terms, but that's really what they did. Now, there's something disturbing about that. If you have to become your enemy to defeat your enemy, well, then aren't you kind of the same as your enemy? What does that say about the nature of good and bad and good and evil? This is Scott Snyder's way, I believe, in this issue of the Justice League reminding themselves that what they originally stood for, their original convictions, were good enough, and that they should stick to their guns and not change, and they can still persevere, and they don't have to change. And you'll even notice that at the beginning there, you see the moon there is all broken up, and Superman's trying to repair it right off on the front page. And you'll see there's a great conversation here between the Flash and John Stewart, and the symbolism here and the themes and the are very obvious. Flash and Green Lantern are in the cafeteria of the Hall of Justice essentially, and it's open to the public. Because that's one thing about the Hall of Justice, it's open to the public because it's friendly. It's the opposite of the Legion of Doom, which is hidden and deceptive and can't be found, etc., etc. And Ferdinand, the Kinotaur, he's actually a Minotaur, but Wonder Woman calls him a Kinotaur in the pages of Wonder Woman. He's from the pages of Wonder Woman. He's the chef of the Justice League, and he can basically recreate any sort of food you want, any sort of recipe on the planet. He can recreate, and he does that, and he impresses Green Lantern. But the Flash, though. The Flash literally takes off all the way, I think, he takes off to Detroit, and he comes back with a genuine triple double-decker sandwich. Basically, the symbol being that you can't beat the original. That you can duplicate some things, but sometimes you can't beat the original. And at least that, to me, sort of blends into the idea that you can't compromise on your principles. And I mean, so Snyder, so even he even draws on the symbolism, I think, in The Lunch by saying that, look, everything you do in life is about the degree to which you're going to compromise on something. What degree do you compromise your principles? On the little things, whether it's lunch, all the way to the big things in terms of what's right and wrong. You know, what methods do you use to fight wrong or to fight evil? And ultimately, you see the reflection of who the Justice Leaguers are in how they style their respective rooms. Each one has their own area in the Justice League, and it reflects who they are. And this is where you really see is these seven forces infiltrating the DC universe, and Martian Manhunter in his conversation with Hawkgirl in here basically is saying, look, I used to define my life based on what I know. Now I'm scared because I feel I have to redefine my life based on what I don't know. With all this new evil coming in, with the source wall breaking down. And that's sort of causing all the Justice Leaguers to question themselves. And what's interesting about that is they might be questioning themselves, but it's quite clear by the way they set up their respective bedrooms in the Hall of Justice that they really haven't changed their core values in terms of who they are. Clark Kent's room is all, Superman's room looks like a reporter's room. Aquaman in his room, it looks like a combination of the tall spears of Atlantis in combination. He's even got an old fishing vessel. He brought his father's old fishing boat is in his room. Batman's room is hilarious. It says keep out, so you don't know what's in Batman's room, but it's sort of keeping with his character that he's sort of like a loner, and he keeps people at a distance. I mean, in a sense, it's reinforcing the fact that these heroes are their own people, and they haven't changed just because the source wall is broken, just because the seven forces are out. These are still heroes. They're still their own persons, their own people, and they're not going to compromise. And that's what I think Snyder's trying to reinforce in this issue, and he does a really good job doing it. In particular note is Green Lantern's room, which almost looks like a military unit. It's like he's camping in there. So John Stewart's room is kind of interesting. The Flash's room is almost like it's got two treadmills there. It's almost like a science lab, Barry Allen's room. And it's interesting. Hawkgirl's room looks like a museum because it's got symbols of weapons from all her past incarnations. So that's quite interesting. And yeah, and Wonder Woman hasn't done her room yet. And the reason why Wonder Woman hasn't even decorated or renovated her room in the Justice League, as she explains to Aquaman, is because her room is her faith. Who she is her faith, and her first priority is everyone else. As she puts it, she goes, Arthur, what I've been trying to tell you is that I built this place first because my home is my faith, not in the gods, but in us, in everyone. And so Wonder Woman is sort of I think symbolically states what the whole issue is about. And that is, we got to believe in ourselves first before we start building something. We have to first establish, what do we believe in before we start fighting. The best way that we can truly help other people, to truly fight for them, is to, number one, know what we stand for ourselves. And that's the most important thing. And so I think thematically, this was a good break of an issue, because Scott Snyder is taking a break, because in the first 8 issues, he threw a lot at us. So this is sort of like taking a step back, saying, look, this is what it's all about. Yeah, a lot's happened, but at the heart, in the hearts of our heroes, they haven't changed. They've got fears, but they're overcoming them. They're doing a great job. They're in the Hall of Justice. They're commiserating with each other. They're commiserating with the public. They're having lunch. They're talking. They're living their everyday lives. And because life goes on, life endures, even in the face of the totality. Which, we don't learn much more about the totality in this issue. We don't learn any more about Perpetua, who is the woman who was originally apparently trapped in the Source Wall, and who originally encapsulated all the 7 forces. She's trapped in the totality. We don't learn much more about her. This is really just sort of it's almost a nice one-shot issue, and it ends up with a beautiful pic of Superman restoring the moon, and it looks absolutely beautiful, and he even makes Batman speechless, if you can believe that. And it's a really great issue. Maybe great's too strong a word. I'm going to say it's a needed issue. It's a needed issue, and I think it's a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed seeing the insides of the Hall of Justice. It's so beautiful on the outside, and it's quite interesting on the inside. One quick note, guys, check out The Witching #1, because what isn't revealed in here and is revealed in The Witching is that apparently Bibbo, the detective chimp, installed a hidden doorway in the basement of the Hall of Justice into the Oblivion Bar. So if you really want to get drunk at the Hall of Justice, you go into the basement of the Hall of Justice, and there's a hidden door, and you can get into the magical realm where the Oblivion Bar is, and have a good drink. Although, unfortunately, the Oblivion Bar has recently been destroyed by Hecate, the demon god in the pages of Wonder Woman. But that's besides the point. I'm sure they're going to rebuild that Oblivion Bar. And anyways, it's just pretty cool. I love the imagination that DC's put into the Hall of Justice. It's pretty cool stuff. And anyways, guys, that's it for my review. Tell me what you think of Justice League #9, and until next time, Comic Boom.